In the year 2004, one company stood at the absolute zenith of home entertainment. With over 9,000 stores worldwide, 60,000 employees, and nearly $6 billion in revenue, it was more than a business. It was a cultural institution, a weekend ritual for millions. Its iconic blue and yellow ticket stub was a passport to adventure, romance, and horror. The company was Blockbuster. Today, only one remains. A single lonely store in Bend, Oregon, stands as a living museum to a fallen empire. How does a titan with a near monopoly on the market simply vanish? The common answer is one word: Netflix. But that's not the whole story. The real story is a tragedy of arrogance, missed opportunities, and a fatal misunderstanding of the future. It is the story of a giant that was offered the key to its own survival for $50 million and laughed it out of the room. To understand Blockbuster's fall, you must first appreciate its dominance. In the 1990s, the company was an unstoppable force. Its business model was simple and brutally effective, but a significant portion of its profits, an estimated $800 million a year, came from a source its customers universally hated: late fees. This single point of friction, this constant annoyance, would become the crack in the empire's foundation. And it was this frustration that gave birth to its executioner. In 1997, a software engineer named Reed Hastings was hit with a $40 late fee for a copy of Apollo 13. In that moment of annoyance, an idea was born. What if there were no stores? What if there were no late fees? A year later, Netflix launched as a DVD by mail service. It was a niche, almost laughable concept. Why wait days for a movie to arrive in the mail when you could just drive to Blockbuster? For years, the two companies existed in different universes. Blockbuster was the undisputed king, and Netflix was a curious, cash-burning experiment on the verge of failure. By the year 2000, the dot-com bubble had burst, and Netflix was bleeding money. Desperate, Reed Hastings and his co-founder Mark Randolph arranged a meeting at Blockbuster's opulent headquarters in Dallas. Their proposal was a partnership. Netflix, the nimble online startup, would run Blockbuster's brand online. Blockbuster, the retail giant, would promote Netflix in its thousands of stores. It was a lifeline for Netflix and a low-risk entry into the digital world for Blockbuster. Then came the question of price. When asked what it would take for Blockbuster to acquire them outright, Hastings gave the number: $50 million. The response from Blockbuster CEO John Antioco and his team was not a detailed counteroffer. It was, according to those in the room, a struggle to keep from laughing. Netflix was a tiny, failing company. Blockbuster was a multi-billion-dollar behemoth. The offer was dismissed. The meeting was over. It would go down in history as one of the most catastrophic business blunders of all time. Rejected and humiliated, Netflix went back to California and fought for survival. They focused on what made them different. They refined their subscription model, eliminating late fees entirely. They developed a sophisticated recommendation algorithm that learned what their customers liked, creating a personalized experience Blockbuster's physical stores could never match. Blockbuster, meanwhile, continued its reign, seemingly oblivious to the changing tides. They saw Netflix not as a strategic threat, but as a minor nuisance. Their first major response came in 2004, launching their own DVD by mail service. But it was a copy, not an innovation. Their heart and their business model was still chained to their physical stores. Then, in 2007, Netflix made the move that would seal Blockbuster's fate. It launched its streaming service. At first, the library was small, and the quality was dependent on slow internet speeds. But Hastings saw the future. He understood that the physical disc was temporary. The future was instant, on demand, and digital. Blockbuster's reaction was fatally slow. The company was crippled by what business analysts call successful incumbent inertia. They were so invested in their profitable existing model that they were psychologically and financially incapable of embracing a new one that would cannibalize their store traffic and rental revenue. The company was also torn apart by internal conflict. Activist investor Carl Icahn, who gained a seat on the board, fought against heavy investment in digital services, demanding the company focus on short-term store profitability. While Netflix was investing billions in streaming technology and content licenses, Blockbuster was fighting a civil war. The end came swiftly. Drowning in nearly $1 billion of debt and unable to compete with the convenience of both Netflix streaming and Redbox kiosks, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy in 2010. The empire had crumbled. The story of Blockbuster and Netflix is more than a simple David versus Goliath tale. It's a brutal lesson in corporate arrogance. Blockbuster didn't fail because it was unlucky. It failed because its leadership was blinded by its own success. They had the brand, the resources, and the customer base to dominate the digital age. They even had the opportunity to own their biggest competitor for a fraction of its future worth. But they chose to protect the present instead of building the future. They failed to see that in business, what makes you successful today can become the very anchor that sinks you tomorrow.